Mr. Andrei Mincov! Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Hear it. There you go.
Thank you.
That's yours. You look very nice.
Thank you.
I want one of those jackets. It's sparkly.
You're fit, not that fit.
It's yeah, but it's sparkly.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. So how many of you here have been running a business for more than 6 months? Raise your hand. Cool. And how many of you started your business less than 6 months ago? Okay. Anybody here just thinking of starting a business? There's a lot of you. So this, what you're about to hear, is for you, unless you're running your business as a hobby, unless you're running your business as a temporary way to make ends meet until you find that perfect job, or unless you're looking for a get-rich overnight scheme. Anybody like that here? That's what they all say. We'll see. So what you're about to learn really is how your brand can help you reach millions of people, build a business of your dreams, leave a legacy, and avoid that nasty lawsuit for trademark infringement. Some of you at this point are probably thinking that I'm going to be selling you something. And as Paul said, I'm not going to disappoint you. In fact, I'm not going to try to sell you something. I am going to sell you on the one idea that if it's worth promoting, it's worth protecting. If you're investing your time, energy, and money into building a brand, you might as well own it. Might as well protect it. So don't just listen to me. Let the true rock stars do the talking. That's Paul Stanley. Just recently said, when we wanted to go out and do the hottest show on Earth tour, Ringling Brothers came to us and said, you can't do that. So when I came up with this idea for the new brand, End of the Road, I thought, let's make sure we tie this up. Oprah said, to legally protect my brand, I trademarked every one of my companies and many subsidiaries, and my team actively pursues those who infringe upon my trademarks. Damon John, just recently at Traffic and Conversion, said, FUBU had 50 patents. They cost me, by the time I was done, $700,000. I never made a dime off of them because people can alter them. But you can never use the word FUBU anywhere in the world. And a universal trademark costs $50,000. And I got started off with just $2,500. And Gene Siemens said, if I could, I would trademark the air you breathe, every breath. Yes, I would. Now, you might be thinking, who is this guy? Do you mind if I share my story with you? Thank you. I've been in this industry for over 22 years, and since day one, it's never been just about business. It was always personal. I was 5 years old when my father, a famous Russian composer, Mark Mincov, first asked me to join him on stage and sing a couple of his songs with him. And like every son who admires his father, I said yes. And then 16 years later, he asked me if I could help him sue a radio station that stole one of those songs, that made an ad out of that for Samsung. And if you're wondering why he'd ask a 21-year-old to sue a radio station for copyright infringement, at that time, I was still living in Russia and attending Russian law school. And like every son who admires his father, by the way, I'm about 7 years old here on TV, on Russian TV. Like every son who admires his father, of course I said yes. The problem with that was I had no idea about intellectual property. I can guarantee you that each and every one of you in this room knows more about IP today than I used to know back then. I had no idea what to do in a courtroom. I'd never been in one. And my biggest problem was Larry and Sergey hadn't bothered to create Google yet, so you couldn't just go online and search how do you sue a radio station that stole your father's music. I had to figure all that out myself. Oh, here's another problem that I had. That's my driver's license from back then. I used to have really long hair and no suit. Nevertheless, we went out there, I ripped them apart, and then they bought the judge, and we lost. It's Russia, 1996, so not that a lot of things have changed in that department, but I was reading that judgment over and over when my dad came into my room and said, so what are you going to do now? I'm like, I don't know. I think I did everything I should have done. He said, well, if you're not going to appeal this, you should quit your law school and find yourself a different profession. That's really how I got into this. That's how it became personal. And it took me 2 years. Eventually, I won this case for him, one level below Supreme Court of Russia, my very first case, still with long hair. Thank you. Thank you. My dad was my first and favorite client, but I've since helped thousands and thousands of those companies that some of them Craig mentioned, Apple, Google, Microsoft, DreamWorks, J.K. Rowling. But really, to me, regardless of their size or the size of their wallet, what drove me was an opportunity to help them protect that which only exists because they created it. That same passion is what drives me today. That's why I'm here. That's why 11 years ago, I left Russia, I left my high-paying job with the biggest law firm in the world, and moved to Canada. Had to go back to law school. That's my graduation photograph from Canada. And after I was done, got my license, I realized that nobody wanted to hire me. So I started my own law firm. And very quickly, I realized that my success with that business would have very little to do with my brilliance and my excellence as a lawyer, and everything to do with my abilities as a marketer and a sales guy. The problem was, I had none of those abilities. And dozens and dozens and dozens seminars, webinars, and books later, I started to figure it out, and things started working out for me. And in a couple of years, I came up with this idea of Trademark Factory, and something I'm going to share with you shortly. And the trademarking business was growing, so much so that I realized that in order for me to scale that business, I had to actually give up my lawyer license. And 3 years ago, that's exactly what I did. I realized that in order for me to help more people get their trademarks done the way they want to get them done, I have to stop being a Canadian lawyer. Never looked back, not once. Best-selling author of 5 books, and some of you are going to be walking out of this event with a copy signed. So before I get into the content, what I'm about to teach you is super powerful. So I need you to promise to me that whatever I'm about to teach you, the powers that I'm going to teach you, you're not going to use for evil. Can I get her to say, Andrei, I promise not to use these powers for evil? Thank you. So here's my challenge for you. I challenge you to think of one successful business without thinking of its brand. Let me make it easy for you. You can't, because the brand is what we think about when we're thinking of a successful business. So let me give you an illustration. So if you have an unlimited budget, all other things being equal, including the price, which would you buy? Would you buy Chanel glasses or no-name glasses? Thank you. Branded apparel or no-name apparel? Absolute vodka or no-name vodka? All right. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. And thank you for participating. I appreciate that. So how many of you here prefer iPhones over Samsung? Okay. Now, raise your hand if you prefer iPhone, but you regularly check Samsung's press releases about their new models. Yeah, we got 1, 2. The rest, why? Because you have brand loyalty. That's the power of the brand. So the lesson really here is that brand is important. For 2 years now, every day I post comments about daily news that have something to do with trademarks, called it daily trademark screw-ups. So let me just quote a couple of headlines from what I recently commented on. Louis Vuitton sues fried chicken restaurant with similar logo. Van City Buzz, which is, do we have anyone from Canada? Yep. All right. Used to be one of the biggest news platforms in Canada online. Been building the brand for 8 years, had hundreds of thousands of subscribers. They had to rebrand 8 years in after they realized that somebody else trademarked their brand. So they became Daily Hive. University of Houston System files trademark infringement lawsuit against South Texas College of Law over similar logo. And you would think that South Texas College of Law would maybe have somebody, maybe a lawyer, who would suggest to them not to steal a logo from their competitor. Citigroup sues AT&T for trademark infringement over the words, "thank you." Yep. Sweetie Pie's owner sues his own son, alleging trademark infringement at his restaurants. I love this one. Sorry, Manchester United, Jose Mourinho is a registered trademark of Chelsea Football Club. So when Manchester signed up Jose Mourinho to be their trainer, they wanted to use a name in marketing materials. That's when Chelsea said, nope, can do that. He can coach, but you can't use his name in your marketing because we own that trademark. Brewery changed its name for second time in 2 years because of trademark dispute. Again, you would think the first time around, they think like maybe we should find a name that doesn't infringe on other people's brands. Took them twice. George Clooney sells his tequila brand for $1 billion. Now, here's how this happened. Great story. 5 years ago, comes up with a name for tequila. And first thing he does, he trademarks it. And then a year after he trademarks it, he goes to Mexico, finds a distiller to actually make the darn thing. And then late last year, he sold that brand for $1 billion. He practically printed $1 billion out of thin air. And by the way, we have a booth down there. George is there. You're welcome to take pictures and ask him about trademarks. Lesson number 2. Brands matter to all businesses of all sizes and all industries. When I started my law firm, very quickly I realized that if you've got no customers, you ain't got no business. This is the photograph of McDonald's in Moscow, the opening day. They had 30,000 paying clients on the first day. How many of you would like to have 30,000 paying clients on your first day? There's a reason why all those people gathered. That's those golden arches. That's the brand that brought them there. This is what I came up with. I called a matrix of success. There's really 2 things we need as business owners to have a successful business. We need a lot of people to know that we exist, and we want them to want whatever it is that we're selling. So in that matrix, there's really 4 possibilities. One is when nobody knows who you are, and even if they did, they still wouldn't want whatever it is that you're selling. That's the type of business that Kevin O'Leary wants to take behind the barn and shoot. Now, the second type is when a lot of people know who you are, but they still don't want whatever it is that you're selling. That's the new Coke scenario. Right? Some people are getting it. All right. Now, the third one is when people, in theory, want whatever it is that you have, but nobody knows who you are. That's how you get all those desperate people who are desperately shoving their business cards in your face at networking events. That's the reason why. They have something that can help people, but nobody knows who they are. I'll tell you a story. I actually did a presentation similar to this a few years ago. And I get off the stage, there's a lineup of people to ask me some questions. And at the end of that line, there's this wonderful woman. So when her time comes, she comes and says, Andrei, I loved your presentation. It was very useful. Learned so much. Great. Did you have a question? I said, yeah, I have a question. What's your question? Andrei, do you have life insurance? Yeah. That's it. That was her question. So don't be that woman. And finally, that's where we all want to be, right? Where everyone knows who you are and everyone wants whatever it is that you're selling. That's the formula of success. Jack Welch, the former CEO of General Electric, has once famously said, if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. So if you link that up with the formula of success, really what you get is your competitive advantage is having something that allows you to get more people to know you and to want your product or service. And so I always add to what Jack Welch said, if you don't protect your competitive advantage, you don't have a competitive advantage. Who agrees with that? Thank you. So trademarks is what can help you build and maintain that competitive advantage, and that's what we're going to talk about today. The 3 secrets that I'm about to share with you is trademarks are a lot more than just your logo. It's often too late to trademark your brand, but never too early. And the cost of trademarking is irrelevant. Secret number 1, so trademarks are a lot more than just your logo. Often get asked this, well, is it worth trademarking? I don't know. So if your brand does one of these 3 things, at least one, it's worth protecting. If your brand helps people find you, if your brand helps people remember you, and if your brand compels people to buy from you. Do you think Nike might have sold an extra t-shirt or 2 because they had Just Do It on them? That's a valuable brand. Now, every single successful brand has these 3 qualities. 1, they're all memorable. And notice that I didn't say that there has to be super brilliant, they have to be super smart, they just have to be memorable, because if nobody can remember your brand, you don't have a valuable brand. But if you look at the list of top 100 brands, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, there's nothing about them that's spectacularly unique other than they're memorable. They're not great works of art, they're not great works of literature. And Apple could have probably been just as successful if they were mango or plum. The second requirement of all successful brands is that they are all connected to a viable business. If you've got a great name, but you're selling something that nobody wants to buy, you don't have a great business, a great brand. And three, they have to be all well protected. If you've got a great name, great business, but your competitors are ripping off your brand right and left, you don't have a valuable brand. And a lot of people think that these three things need to be done in succession. No, it's not that you first come up with a great name, then you build a business, then you protect it. You have to do them all at the same time. Here's my definition of a trademark, and don't expect a textbook definition. I'm going to give you one that makes sense. A trademark is anything that allows your market to sell your products and services apart from identical or similar products and services of everyone else. So imagine your product or your service in a box in a supermarket on a shelf. Even if it's a service, imagine that it's in a box. Now imagine that you've got a competitor. If you don't have a competitor, imagine that you have one, and they ripped you off completely. They're selling exactly the same thing. Same price, same quality, same features, same benefits, exactly the same thing. And their box is right next to yours. A trademark is that which would allow me, who's passing by that shelf, to tell you, oh, that's yours, and that one isn't. Our own tagline, trademarked of course, is, if it's remarkable, it's trademarkable. Really, that's what trademarks are about. And from that definition, you get that you cannot trademark something that's too close to somebody else in that same industry. Yeah, because, if the purpose of a trademark is to distinguish you from everyone else, if you're copying somebody else's trademark, you kind of don't distinguish yourself. And notice that I said that it has to be for the same or similar products and services. So McDonald's has this tagline, I'm loving it. They don't own the words, I'm loving it. They own the phrase, I'm loving it, only in connection with restaurant services. So if you are a funeral home or a gynecologist, you can safely use that phrase for your business. You can even trademark that, and McDonald's wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Now, whether that's a good business decision, I leave up to your judgment. Now, the second thing from this definition is that a trademark must do more than simply describe your product and services. Because, again, the point of the trademark is not to give you the monopoly over the features. The point of a trademark is to distinguish you from everyone else who has those features. There's really 5 main things you should consider trademarking, and most businesses don't need all 5, but these are the most important ones. One is the name of the business, Apple or McDonald's. Names of your products, iPhone or Big Mac. Names of your services, iTunes or McAfee. Your logos and your taglines. And interestingly, with some businesses, you can combine. Like Google is both the name of the business and the name of the service. Okay? One thing I'm going to teach you now is what I call a trademarking growth hack, and I see it being used more and more and more and more. And the power of this is that it allows you to be unique even if there's nothing unique about what you do. Here's how this works. Ford used to run those commercials, and they all ended with one phrase. Only Ford has EcoBoost fuel economy. And the human mind is wired in a way that whenever we're trying to sell something and we say we're the only ones who, people automatically assume it's got to be good. Whatever follows that makes you unique. Right? Interesting thing here is that Ford never bothered to tell you what made EcoBoost better or even different from everyone else. They never even bothered to tell you if eco stood for economy or ecology. They just told you they were the only ones. And what made them unique is that they trademarked the name, EcoBoost. Here's another one, Chevron. What makes Chevron unique? Who knows? Techron. Yes. Does anyone know what Techron is? It's a name. It's a name that they trademarked. But everyone knows. Starbucks actually had to buy the company that had the name to own the name. They knew that they couldn't own the recipe. They knew they couldn't own the idea of selling iced coffee. But they knew that if they owned the name, they would, by extension, own the industry. So now everyone else can make iced coffee. They just can't call it Frappuccino. Now, this one is a fictitious example. Do I have any mortgage brokers in the room? There's usually somebody. Come on. All right. I wanted to come up with an example of someone for whom it's very difficult to market themselves because they all say the same thing. I'll be friendly, I'll be personable, I'm not tied into a particular bank, I'll be there for you when you need me, I'll find you the best rates, blah, 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 blah. Pretty boring. Compare that with a mortgage broker who's going to say, I am the only mortgage broker in North America who will find the best rates for you, for your mortgage, using our proprietary IHNC calculator. It's more interesting, at the very least, until you ask them, what does IHNC stand for? And says, I have no clue. Yeah. But it works. Now, here's how this works. 4 steps. First, you identify a feature that's important to your market. You don't have to have anything unique about that feature. You just have to figure out that the market cares about it. Then, you come up with a unique name for that feature that doesn't describe the feature, just name it like something that no one else has thought about. Third is you trademark that name, and then you use it everywhere, on your business cards, on your website, in your videos, in your presentations. This is how we get, oh, we use that method, or this system. That's what makes you unique. And you go, so what? That's our proprietary rainbow and lollipop system. It works. Now, secret number 2. It's often too late to trademark your brand, but never too early. And I wanted to start this with 2 case studies with people who actually are here with us today. And I hope I don't piss them off too much. That's not why I'm doing this. The purpose is to illustrate to you how important that thing can be. So Katrina has her booth over there. Great woman, great coach who I actually met several times. So on her website, one of her websites, she's got Jumpstart Your Marketing, Jumpstart Your Business, Jumpstart Your Biz, Jumpstarting Your Biz, okay? So what's wrong with that picture? What's wrong with that picture is that there are 3 other trademarks registered that have Jumpstart in them. There's Jumpstart for educational services, for workshops in the business field. There's Project Jumpstart. There's Social Jumpstart for marketing and advertising. So am I saying that Katrina is about to go to jail for trademark infringement? No. But what I am saying is that she's building a brand that she doesn't own. That's a problem. Here's another one. Yopa Frozen Yogurt. Are you guys here? Yeah, cool. Great website, great team, great story. It's been around since 2012. So what's wrong with that picture? There's 2 trademarks, Yopa and Yopa, without the apostrophe, which doesn't really matter for trademarking purposes, that are owned by this little company, YoFarm, that's part of the Danone Group. And that means they've got bazillions of dollars. So again, does that mean that Michael, with his company, can't do anything with his name that he probably started first? No, but if he wants to franchise this business and grow, that's a problem, because any potential franchisee, the first thing they're going to find when they do a trademark search is this. Okay? Well, a couple years ago, I did some research to see when all successful startups filed their first trademark. Right? Now that they've got bazillions of dollars, it's clear they're trademarked up to their yin-yang. My question was, when did they file their first? And so Uber did it 2 months before launch. Stripe, 8 months before launch. No, help me out. What's the logo? Firefox, 2 months before launch. Google, same month as launch. Facebook, same month as launch. Anybody knows what that is? Periscope, yes, same month as launch. This is my favorite, Airbnb. Filed their first trademark while the founder was still renting out his own bedroom on Airbnb to pay for the overhead. They all did it before they were on anybody's radar. And the reason they did it is because they knew they could potentially have the next big thing in their hands, and they treated it accordingly. Which is why it really pisses me off when I meet business owners who are like, well, who's going to steal my brand? And I'm like, if you're building a business under a brand and you don't think that it's worth stealing from you, you're either running your own business, their own brand, or probably both. So what does trademarking actually accomplish? Well, other than this, of course. There's really 3 reasons. Number one is that it minimizes the risk of you one day receiving a letter from a law firm that's going to say that it has come to our client's attention that, thank you, it has come to our client's attention that you've been using our client's name to sell these and these products and services. And we hereby demand that you rebrand, that you abandon your domain name, your social media profiles, give it up to us, and pay us some money. If you've got your trademark registered first, the risk of that is almost 0. Second reason is that it minimizes the risk of customer confusion and cost of trademarking disputes. Today, we get most of our business from people who've read some reviews. So imagine that someone copies your name, offers a worse product, people leave a bad review, so whenever somebody is looking you up, guess whose review they're going to read? And the cost of trademarking disputes is that same dreaded demand letter, but when you're not on the receiving end, when you're on the sending end, because when you've got a trademark, it's easy for them to say, yeah, we'll probably got to do something about it. When you don't have a registered trademark, 99% chance your letter is going to be ignored. And it also allows you to build a valuable asset. So my friend George, again, $1 billion for trademark name. Not a bad investment. From the legal perspective, there's also three big reasons why you want a trademark. And I'm going to go with the least important first. Right, timing is important with trademarks. And sometimes you want to protect a brand before it becomes widely known. So in both Canada and US, there is some limited protection to unregistered trademarks. The problem with that is if you don't grow fast enough, you don't get that protection because nobody knows you under that name. So the only way to protect an idea or a brand that kind of slowly growing organically is to file a trademark, because at that point it's immediately protected. And best part, it's protected all across the country. The protection is federal. It's not international. You still have to do it country by country. But even if you have a small restaurant in LA, when you file a trademark, you're automatically protected everywhere. If you don't, it's perfectly legal for somebody in New York to open the same restaurant with the same name. And finally, you get the presumption of ownership and validity, which means that in a dispute, you don't have to prove anything. You're presumed to be the owner of the trademark that's valid. And let me tell you, in a litigation, there's nothing more expensive than having to prove something. Because with an unregistered trademark, you have to prove that enough people know about you in that same geographical area is where your defendant is. And it means experts, witnesses, surveys, reports, and you also need attorneys who are going to translate that into the language that the judge understands. It can easily be a matter of an extra 50 to 70K, just that alone. With a registered trademark, all you have to do is show them one piece of paper. And now the other side needs to find their experts, their witnesses, their surveys, their reports, and their attorneys to do all that. And in any litigation, you want to be the party that sits down and looks at the other party burn through their money. Best strategy ever. Now, some of you thinking, well, Andrei, of course, you're in the business of selling trademarks. You're probably going to tell, hey, everybody needs a trademark. No, there's actually 2 legitimate reasons not to get one. Number one is that you plan to rebrand or go out of business in the next 2 years. Trademarking is a long process. It takes on average 14 months in the US, 18 months in Canada. So if you think that this is a temporary thing, there is no point in investing in a trademark. And by the way, that's the scene from The Founder. Yeah. One of the best scenes on IP I've ever seen in movies. And this is, here you're witnessing the transition from a brand to a 50-cent burger. This is how it looks like. The second reason not to get a trademark is if you treat your business as a hobby, or if you don't intend to build something that's actually going to matter. Good guy. So he probably borrowed Craig's air guitar. All right. Now, secret number 3, trademarking is neither expensive nor expensive. The cost of trademarking is irrelevant. Here's why. Coca-Cola filed their first trademark in 1892. That was accidentally the year when they were selling 9 drinks a day. I call it a lemonade stand with a dream. Do you think they ever wonder if they overpaid their lawyers now that their brand is worth $73 billion? Doesn't matter even if they overpaid by a factor of 100. Still the best investment they've ever made. Now compare that to Carhu. And if you're wondering what Carhu is, that's a great brand. They were trying to become a competitor to Uber, and they spent $250 million on the way until they went bust. And $1 they spend on their trademark is $1 too much. Right? So it really doesn't matter. Here's the words from Ray Kroc. You're not going to get it free. You have to take risks, and in some cases, you must go for broke. If you believe in something, you've got to be in it to the ends of your toes. Taking reasonable risks is part of the challenge. It's the fun. It's what you do. Your brand that you come up with, that's what you do. So when you ask me, is my brand worth trademarking? Really what you're asking is my business worth building? And if there's one thing I want you to get out of this presentation, is this. Don't let anyone ever tell you that your brand and your business are worthless. Because we get so much of that from friends, from family, from the people we think are close to us. What is it you're doing? Like they kill our dream. So don't ever let that happen to you. So some of you may be thinking, how do I trademark my brand? You can do it yourself. And I can promise to each and every one of you in this room that you're smart enough to file your own trademarks. My question is whether it's worth your time to learn all the ins and outs of doing it properly. So let me briefly introduce to you the trademarking process. First, you do the search, then you draft the application, then you file the application, then you hope that it's approved. And in 65% of the case, it won't be approved. You get an office action. If you don't respond to that office action, the trademark dies a painful death. And if you do respond to it, it gets approved. And after that, it gets published. And in 99% of the cases, it will be allowed. And if it doesn't get allowed, it will be opposed in 1% of the cases. And if you don't respond to the opposition, it's going to get dead. And if you do respond to the opposition, it gets allowed. And then you're going to file a statement of use. And then you're going to get a trademark registration certificate that you're going to put on your wall and celebrate. You're going to pour yourself a glass of tequila, and that would be great. But at that point, you also need to take care of making sure that nobody's filing a trademark similar to yours. You need to take care of renewals so that your trademark doesn't get canceled, right, Katrina? And you need to take care of amendments. That's the trademarking process. Very easy. So look, how many of you know how to drive? How many of you know how to drive? Seriously. Good. Who took more than 2 weeks to learn how to drive? Okay, who took more than 2 weeks to learn how to drive well? Okay, thank you. But we all do it. It's so convenient. You go in the car, you go from point A to point B. It makes perfect sense because we do it every day. But if you knew that you'd only be driving once in your life, would you spend those 2 weeks to learn how to drive? And say, screw that, I'm going to take an Uber. That's why there are companies out there, there's law firms, there's online filing companies that can help you trademark your brands. And the problem with those other companies is that they're going to put a price tag on each of these options, and that's how your $300 file suddenly becomes a $5,000, $10,000, sometimes even $15,000 if there's opposition process. And in 2013, I realized that there had to be a better way to do this, and that was my idea for Trademark Factory. Really what it became is the only firm in the world that offers trademarking services with a predictable result for a predictable budget. What we do is we start each and every one of our packages with a free comprehensive trademark search. So the first thing we do, we're going to make sure that whatever you paid for is even trademarkable, because if it isn't, we don't want to do it for you. And you don't want to do it, most likely. We charge single all-inclusive flat fee. You pay everything up front, and then you never see another invoice from us. No hourly fees. We don't want to sell time. We want to sell the result. And we back that result with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if after we've invested all this time to get your trademark through, you still don't get it, you get all your money back. So that's what the package includes. And we charge for it $3,000. Now, if you're thinking, so a trademark is good for 10 years, 15 years in Canada, and then you can renew it forever for a couple $100. That's how Coca-Cola has been renewing the same trademark application since 1892. So if you break it down, you're looking at 68 cents a day. And it's less than a coffee. It's actually less than this much coffee. Come on up. And that's my daughter. So me and her are going to be at our exhibitor booth helping you. Now, at this point, you may be thinking,
but Andrei, what if we do the search and it turns out it's problematic?
Thank you. She's good. I made her. I made her. Okay. That happens, right? That's why we do the trademark search. So if we do the trademark search and it turns out your brand is problematic, you're going to have three options. The first option you're probably only going to use if you've been running under this brand for a long time, or if you really love it. The option will be you file anyway and you just get less than 100% money back guarantee if it doesn't go through. So basically we share the risk. The second option is you can come up with a different brand and again use your credit with us for a whole year. So same idea. Send us as many options as you want until you find the brand that you like and we tell you it's trademarkable. Or you can get all your money back. If we're not doing it for you, I don't want your money.
But Andrei, where should I file my trademark?
That's a great question. How'd you think of that? So the usual rule is you first file in your home country, and then you also look at markets where you've got enough revenue coming from, right? That depends on how big you are, right? But 20% is a good number to have. So if you have, let's say you're based in the US, but 25% of your business comes from Canada, then you do Canada, right? And you mix and match. The higher your revenue, the lower that percentage, because you just basically look at the absolute numbers. So we can help you file in the US, Canada, Europe, and Australia directly through this offer. If you're looking for trademarks outside, we can also help, but that will be kind of a different conversation.
But Andrei, I don't have the money.
Really? Oh, and by the way, we have payment plans. So you can do it just 3 months or 6 month pay if you want. So, this guy again. Who's this man? He mentioned on the stage who actually did his trademark, and the timing sucks because if this event happened a month from now, I would have been here with a framed certificate with Rock Your Life. So his trademark just survived the opposition period. It's about to be allowed first week of April, and then we're gonna, finalize the statement of use and get the certificate. So all I got right now is his words, but you're welcome to talk to this man if you can find him, and ask him what his experience with Trademark Factory was. You got a question?
What if you bought an expensive domain name and you were thinking that's protected?
Okay, that's a great question. When you buy a domain name, no matter how much you pay for it, it doesn't become your trademark. It becomes your trademark when you actually protect it as a trademark. So, and simply owning a domain name without having an active website under that domain name does not qualify as unregistered trademark, because you're not known under that brand to anybody. It's like your idea. And remember that photograph with condoms? That's exactly what it is. The only way to protect it before it's widely known is to get a trademark. So look, my message to you is, it's your business, it's your brand, and it's probably worth protecting. You may not be able to trademark the air that we breathe, but you definitely can protect your brand, and I think you should. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Our booth over there, make sure you come take a photograph with George. Talk to him about trademarks, and we may answer some of your questions as well. Thanks.
Let's hear it for Andrei and Maria. Good job. You were awesome. You were okay. You were awesome.
I know.
Okay.